This reaction is brought to you by my $5 or more patrons at patreon.com/AlexHeitz. I'd like to thank Manchester Pictures, Identitech, Steve Aldersley, Anthony Coleman, Kurt David, Mason Frost, Matthew McLaughlin, and Andreas Glasel for sponsoring this video, supporting me, my family, the channel, encouraging all this nonsense. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you had a pleasant holiday season. Yeah, recording on the 30th of December. Took about a week off for Christmas and all that jazz, just real busy. And yeah, we're back now, continuing on our New Order binge number 2. We had a big binge earlier on in the channel, or earlier on in my reaction history, ended with Republic, and now we're back. We did Get Ready, which was solid. It was pretty solid. This video might come out before my follow-up to it, but I will say it doesn't quite stand up to other New Order albums. It's not quite in the oeuvre of New Order wholly, but as like an alt-dance, alt-rock, synth-pop album in the early 2000s, pretty solid and consistent stuff. Definitely some tracks on that album I will be returning to. But now we are continuing on with Waiting for the Sirens Call. No. It just says no. I imagine that means New Order, but it looks like it's saying, like, please don't listen to this. So I think Get Ready was the last album to have all 4 band members. And this one I think is missing. Yeah, this one's missing Gillian, or Jillian, or however you say it. If I'm not mistaken, we have Phil Cunningham on synthesizers and programming and guitars. But we have Bernard, Peter, and Steven. And I think is this the last, or is Lost Sirens the last? Lost Sirens is the last Peter Hook album. So we have this one and then the next one, which I think Lost Sirens is just basically like the amnesiac of this album, if you will, just leftover stuff. I never hear anyone talk about this album, just like kind of with Get Ready. Well, Get Ready, people would talk about Crystal a little bit, but this one, I don't know any of these track titles. I don't ever hear anyone talking about this album. It has pretty wildly mixed reviews too. 63 on Metacritic, but like some publications are giving it, like 5s and 6s. Pitchfork gave it almost an 8. Q gave it a 2 out of 5. So, like, I have no idea what to expect on this thing, or if it'll, like, meet what I enjoy about New Order, or something. I don't know. We're going to begin, though. 11 tracks, 57 minutes, synth-pop, alt-rock. We're just going to dive right in with Who's Joe? This sounds like a Smiths title, like I Am the Ghost of Troubled Joe off of Strange Ways. But anyway, here we go. I just noticed we have Stephen Street producing as well. That's kind of cool. Pretty simple bass so far. Oh. It's not bad. It's just a little, it's not typical New Order, I guess you could say. It's a little like more like darker or serious. Some people might like it for that reason. It just feels a little like, I don't want to say cynical or what have you. It doesn't feel like there was like a joy to some degree in a lot of like the playing and composition, in a lot of previous New Order stuff. And that one felt just like a little bit more like sour in tone. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. We'll see what the rest of the album is like, though. Hey, now, what you doing? Whoa. That's better than the first track. That's a little bit more of that, like, closer to that alt rock of the early 2000s that you kind of come to expect. There's a little bit of like 90s influence there as well. I can kind of get some notes of that. Um, that's New Order being aggressive, like at its best, I think. Who's Joe is just kind of like set a weird tone to open the album. But Hey Now What You Doing, I think, was a little bit better, and I think it fits in the time frame a little bit better as well. Waiting for the Sirens Call. I believe this is the first self-titled like title track that New Order has ever had. They've never had a song named after their album until now. Does this ship bring to me far across the restless sea? We all want some kind of love. I think I've heard this before. I think this played at work. I never would have expected that this was a New Order song. Um, like, how does the chorus go? Like, my mind is being blown right now. Sorry. Yep, this is it. This outro is very familiar to me. What an odd song for me to have heard like on a grocery store radio on repeat for years. That's on low fidelity up, in the ceiling has been etched into my brain for like a few years at least. But like I've talked about this before, how like when you hear songs on the radio at work or something, like in a place where you're not really yourself, your life is on pause until you get off of work. Songs you hear on the radio or over the intercom, they don't really register per se. You hear them so much at work that they don't really like feel like a song that you're enjoying. But because I always kind of heard this one in the distance and it kind of sounded like, honestly, I thought it was way later than this, because this album was 2005. I thought that this was like a more recent, just kind of bland pop song. And it's like, it's not amazing. I think it's solid. But actually hearing it, in like 320 kbps, That was pretty good. That was pretty good. I could see myself listening to that in the future, and especially now that I'm not working at the place that used to play this song all the time, maybe I can finally shed some of those layers. But yeah, that was cool. Again, really an odd choice for a New Order single. I think I heard this played more often and before they started playing Bizarre Love Triangle, which I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, Krafty, track 4. I've heard this one too. This played at work as well. I don't like this song. um, it just seems really immature or childish or like silly. I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I can comment more as it plays, but I have heard this too. Kind of world that we live in today. Never get it right. Yeah, I'm very familiar with this song too. Human race. So I think that I'd actually like I would sometimes like meld Waiting for the Sirens Call and Krafty together in my mind because Krafty feels like it's it's like a spin-off of Waiting for the Sirens Call. It's like a second thought almost. I will say again, hearing it like, in good quality with headphones, I do like it more than when I originally heard it. But again, there's so much like stuff I just have to shed to get off, mentally to get out of my mind to be able to fully enjoy the song. Um, Man, I was not expecting two of these tracks to be ones that I heard multiple times on store speakers. And it almost makes me wonder if Jetstream is also a song I've heard because that's the other single. I don't know, maybe they were cheap. And so like Safeway Albertsons was able to get them and play them for pretty cheap. I don't know. But what are the odds that like two singles from a forgettable throwaway New Order album to a lot of people was something you would hear all the time at Safeway and Albertsons? I don't know. But we're just going to keep going forward. I need to like let the PTSD go away before I can process the last two. There are aspects of them that I like though. And again, hearing it in headphones, much better, much better. You get those little details, the synth, the bass. Peter Hook's bass does not translate well to like store speakers. It just does not come through very clear. I told you so. Solid. Just like track 2, Hey Now What You Doing. That's New Order operating in the alt rock space pretty well. Um, it's not the synth pop, it's not the new wave, it's alt rock. And I think they can pull off alt rock fairly well, and it's kind of a tragedy that some of their alt rock stuff is being just gets kind of written off because it's not, the typical New Order genres, but like they're fine tracks in that vein. Anyway, let's keep going. We're only halfway through. Morning, night, and day. So this one, that one was fine. It had cool moments, but it didn't really come together as a cohesive thing. And I think that's going to be this album's issue, is that it's just like highs and lows that don't quite come together into any like Get Ready. Like it was cohesive and consistent. You can kind of get like the tone of the album. This, like, you compare something like Who's Joe to Waiting for the Sirens Call on Krafty, and it's like worlds apart, right? In fact, I almost got like 80s and 90s vibes off of tracks 3 and 4 to some degree, but yet they still feel like these weird dated 2000s tracks. I don't know. I think that there's good stuff on here, but I can see why people feel mixed on this. But it's not like what's good is forgettable because the other stuff is forgettable, if that makes sense. Like there's stuff here I would probably come back to. Let's keep going. Dracula's Castle. Never would have expected a title like that from New Order, but here we go. That's pretty legit. Like nothing amazing and kind of like gimmicky in a weird way. But like that had a lot of really great qualities to it. Um, might be my favorite so far. Possibly. I don't know. That was cool though. I'm still kind of torn on Waiting for the Sirens Call and Crafty just because of, my PTSD. But um, tracks like 2 and 5 I think were good. But 7 just exhibited so many of the strengths that New Order has. And it felt like a cohesive composition, which is pretty cool. Uh, Jetstream, this is the other single. Let's see if I know it.
Can you wait? My plane will be arriving.
Ugh. Republic flashbacks. Blacks? Republic flashbacks. There it is. So there was, I could see what they were trying to do, but like the melody was so boring. It just did not come together very well at all. That was just a dud to me. Weakest track so far, by far. I mean, I didn't hate it. I'll just never listen to it again. Is basically how it goes. I've noticed that he brought, or I assume it's Bernard. I don't know if it's anyone else, but Dawn Z additional vocals for tracks 5 and 9. I don't know who was singing on 8. Who's the additional vocals for 8? Is there anybody? Animatronic. Okay, singer from Oregon. Gotcha. Yeah, because I think he had. I like, again, I assume it's Bernard. I don't know if it's anyone else, but there was like the African American female backing vocals on Republic. And then I know Don Z is also African American, so it's like a motif that he keeps like bringing back. And it's like it's a nice sound, but it I don't know how well it meshes with like the New Order sound is the problem. Like sometimes it works. Like I think on track, what was it, 5 that she was on? Yeah, I Told You So. Like it kind of took me out of it for a second because I got the Republic flashbacks. But I think it worked better on that song than it did on a lot of Republic tracks. I don't mind that kind of like female vocal flair, but sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm thinking that it's actually working better on albums like Get Ready and Waiting for the Sirens Call than it did on Republic, honestly, even though that was probably a little closer to the era that it would have fit, if that makes sense. Anyway, so Jetstream, bleh. That might be controversial, but I don't like it. Guilt is a useless emotion. I mean, not really. It has a purpose. Heart bip.
Another day in the week, waiting for an opportunity to step in front of me. Will you help me find it? I want your love. Need your love. I just wanna buy it. Need your love. Will you help me find you that I belong? Need your love. You and me just can't go wrong. I need your love. I just wanna buy.
So this track and the last, Jetstream, were produced by both New Order and Stuart Price. They were the only 2 tracks on this album to be produced by Stuart Price, and they're definitely my least favorites. Like, pardon my phrasing here, but like the last 2 tracks feel like the corpse of New Order just being ravaged by by the times and the genres that were happening then. And yeah, it's like I don't like I know that like Peter Hook kind of left New Order because of like some financial issues, as far as like credits on certain albums or songs go, I think. But this feels like there's glimmers of the old New Order shining through, but there's also just not great stuff, just really phoned in stuff. I don't know. I don't quite know how to describe it. And it makes me really interested to get through this and Lost Sirens and see what Music Complete sounds like, because I hear that Music Complete actually isn't too terrible. It's like people say that it's like fairly, like I enjoyed Be a Rebel to a certain degree, um, which is, after Music Complete. I haven't heard anything off of Music Complete yet, but yeah, this definitely feels like a very, what's the adjective I'm looking for? Uh, Not tortured, but just like conflicted album. Um, it's not quite sure what it's trying to do. Um, and so it might be hard for me to come back to this as a whole album, just because there's moments I like, but there's not necessarily full tracks that I like so far, except for maybe two or three. It's a very conflicted album for sure. So we have two tracks left. Stephen Street on these last two, so hopefully they're pretty solid. Turn.
Way to come home, like the leaves. Can't forget that you were here. I feel your presence everywhere. Your eyes from me. And we don't want to understand. You want me to do? Take it all away from you. But you know, across the hills and over the sea.
So I think I called Krafty like a spin-off or knockoff or like second idea from Waiting for the Sirens Call. Turn feels like a third idea from that. Um, it just feels like a phoned in track from like the other two big singles. I can kind of hear similar like compositional motifs and melodies from those two tracks kind of coming down into this. And there's a couple things I liked in Turn, but it just didn't amount to much. It's definitely a spotty album. A spotty album. But let's finish it out. We have one track left, Working Overtime, and then we'll talk fully. So let's finish this.
Who's that over there? Looks like he don't care. He no one. He's the rising sun. He won't shed no pull everywhere. Look at him, but they don't care. See that word overtime, 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 overtime. Somewhere he went wrong. Too much working overtime.
Well, there is Waiting for the Sirens Call. Okay. All right. So, interesting album. More interesting historically than I think it is musically. Yeah, you can definitely tell that like the oomph of the band was fading at this time. Hook's lines weren't as great as they normally are. Like even on Get Ready, Hook had some great lines. Like I'm thinking of like Turn My Way. I think 60 Miles an Hour had a really good line. But this album is so scattershot. That's its problem. It's like there's a handful of great moments. There's a few tracks that are duds. Jetstream and Guilt, I think, are the two duds. The last two aren't fantastic either. I think the last four tracks are the weakest, honestly. Tracks 1 through 7 being the better ones. Yeah, it's really hard to like quantify the issue with this album. There's very few cohesive tracks that are just good on their own. I think Hey Now What You Doing, I Told You So, and Dracula's Castle are some of the strongest. Waiting for the Sirens Call isn't a bad single. Krafty, I have no idea, just because I have too much like subjective influence going on with me. Let me know if you like Krafty, because I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. But tracks like Who's Joe is just kind of odd. It's a weird way to start the album. Morning, Night, and Day is hit and miss. Jetstream had like a couple interesting things, but wasn't great. Guilt, who cares? Turn, who cares? Working Overtime had a couple interesting things. But it just, I don't know. It's a forgettable album, but some of the songs I'll come back to, I think. Hey Now What You Doing, Waiting for the Sirens Call, maybe Krafty, I Told You So, and Dracula's Castle would be all I'd really come back to. But you can tell that there's definitely a diminishing returns effect happening with this band at this point. It was 4 years since Get Ready, and then this was 2005. You don't get Lost Sirens until 2013, which is, what is that? 5 plus 3? 8. I'm good at arithmetic. I was homeschooled. 8 years. 8 years later that you get Lost Sirens. And I imagine all the Peter Hook debacle happened in the interim, I imagine. I don't know. But I'm now very eager to see what Lost Sirens is like, because I imagine that it's like, maybe it's even more messy than this. Let's see if did Pitchfork give it a rating. 6.8, so definitely lower, but it still has a 65 on Metacritic, which is technically higher than Waiting for the Sirens Call. So the next album will definitely be interesting to listen to. It's only 8 tracks, 38 minutes. It's real short. Then 2 years later, we get Music Complete, which is the first non-Peter Hook New Order album, which is, you know, it has a 7.2 on Pitchfork, 76 on Metacritic. They have Phil Cunningham back on synthesizers, as well as Gillian, and Tom Chapman on bass. I don't know who that is. But yeah, I'm more interested in like the historical progression from Get Ready to Music Complete than I am like the music, if that makes sense. Because a lot of interesting things are happening from album to album at this point. So anyway, that is Waiting for the Sirens Call. An okay album. Not as good as Get Ready. Some cool moments, but definitely messy. Messy as hell. Only a few solid, consistent tracks on the whole thing. Yeah, cool. Okay, so that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. A couple things to plug. First, patreon.com/Alex Haitz if you would like to support the channel. Allow me to eventually do this full time if possible. Head on over to patreon.com/Alex Haitz. Donate as little as $1 a month. That will get you access to voting in the Patreon polls, which is basically 4 albums that either I pick or my Discord picks. We're kind of alternating at this point. And it lets you vote in which album I listen to next. And we usually do those every 3 to 5 albums during these artist binges. Or if you just want to support the channel, head on over there. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone who is supporting right now. Thank you so much. And also Discord, link in the description, the Alex Haitz Discord. We are currently at, I think like last I checked, it's 119 members, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check real quick to see where we're at right now. We are currently at 119, not counting like 3 or 4 bots that, you know, occupy the channel. So head on over there if you want music discussion, music recommendations, memes, all the stuff, all the good stuff, even controversial like political conversation and real talk, just people venting about, their depression, which everyone has because it's 2020. So check that out. Really great community over there. People who even have said they expressed that they're very thankful and appreciative of the community in that Discord server, and it's gotten them through 2020. And even though that's barely anything to do with me and more to do with the people who have come together on there to talk, it makes my heart warm. So thank you everyone who has participated on that server. And if you want to go join, check it out. And that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Look out for Lost Sirens coming soon. And that is all I have for you. Until next time, thank you guys, and Godspeed.